Can a homeowners association just use a board member's oral testimony to justify thousands of dollars in daily fines against you, or do they actually have to prove a written fine schedule exists? Welcome to The Explainer. On this show, we take dense public records and court documents and translate them into clear, actionable insights. Today, we're unpacking a really fascinating case for the Arizona HOA Transparency Project and AZ HOA Watch, Turtle Rock 3 Homeowners Association versus Lynne A. Fisher. So what happens when an HOA board demands a massive payout but literally cannot produce the paperwork to back it up? It's a huge, incredibly practical question for any homeowner. The answer from the Arizona Court of Appeals? Well, it might just surprise you.
Before we dive into the weeds today, and I mean that both literally and legally, just a quick heads up. This explainer is purely for public record education and commentary. We're just looking objectively at the facts and rulings in these documents. It is not legal advice.
Okay, here's our roadmap for today. We'll cover the case snapshot, the conflict in evidence, the court's decision, our homeowner takeaways, lessons for boards and attorneys, and finally, the limits of the case.
Section 1. Case Snapshot. Turtle Rock 3 versus Fisher.
Back in November of 2015, the Turtle Rock 3 Homeowners Association decided to sue homeowner Lynne A. Fisher in Maricopa County Superior Court. They filed for breach of contract and an injunction, basically trying to force Fisher to clean up her property. On top of that, they demanded a mountain of monetary fines they claimed she had been racking up over the years. This whole thing eventually escalated all the way up to the Arizona Court of Appeals, resulting in a published opinion in 2017.
Moving right along to Section 2, Conflict and Evidence, Weeds, Wood, and the Paper Trail. Now, this wasn't just your standard dispute over a missed $50 assessment. The HOA was coming after Fisher for a whole laundry list of property conditions dating back to 2014. Their CC&Rs required owners to keep lots in a clean and attractive condition, so the HOA cited her for a rotting wood gate, an overgrown yard full of weeds, and a peeling garage door. But they didn't stop at the exterior. They actually cited her for sun-damaged blinds and having excessive interior items pressed up against her front windows, basically arguing she was using her house as a highly visible storage unit. And for all this, the HOA started slapping her with a $25 per day fine.
So they go to trial. And at the evidentiary hearing, the HOA brings a ton of stuff. Property photos, a massive stack of violation letters sent to Fisher, an account ledger of all of these accrued fines, and the community's CC&Rs. But wait for it. There was one absolutely crucial document completely missing from their stack, the actual written fine schedule. Yep. Instead of just showing the physical document, an HOA board member got up and offered oral testimony, just promising the court that the governing documents authorized those fines. Keep that detail in your back pocket because it literally becomes the hinge for this entire case.
Which brings us to Section 3, the court's decision, or as I like to call it, the appellate smackdown. Let's break this down into two parts. First, the injunction, the order legally forcing Fisher to fix up the property. The trial court granted it to the HOA, and the Court of Appeals affirmed it. So, why did the homeowner lose this half of the battle? Simply put, procedural missteps. It was a chain reaction of missed opportunities. Fisher never submitted a pretrial statement. Then, on the actual day of the trial, while HOA officers showed up ready to go, Fisher completely failed to attend her own evidentiary hearing. Her attorney was there, sure, but waived any presentation of testimony and introduced zero evidence. As the appellate court pointed out, there was literally no objection on the record from Fisher to stop the HOA's requested maintenance changes.
Okay, so Fisher lost the injunction. But here is the wild part. The HOA completely lost the monetary penalty portion of their case, and they lost it thanks to a bedrock legal concept called the best evidence rule. Basically, when the actual terms of a written document are being disputed, like, say, exactly how much a daily fine is supposed to be, you can't just have someone swear it exists. No way. Only the writing itself provides reliable evidence.
The Arizona Court of Appeals had a brilliant way of wording this. They wrote, "The human memory is not often capable of reciting the precise terms of a writing, and when the terms are in dispute, only the writing itself provides reliable evidence." They basically told the HOA that a board member's memory is fallible. Just standing up in court and saying, "Oh yeah, a $25 fine is totally authorized," doesn't cut it. Without competent evidence of the actual written fee schedule being properly presented, those fines were unenforceable. To put that into perspective, what did this mean in dollars and cents? Exactly $14,689.70.
That massive total was a combo of over 10 grand in attorney's fees and almost 4 grand in penalties that the trial judge originally gave the HOA. The appellate court wiped that monetary judgment against the homeowner clean off the board. And because it was a split decision, the HOA got the injunction, Fisher got the money thrown out, the court actually refused to award appellate attorney fees to either side.
Section 4. Homeowner takeaways, red flags, and checklists.
If you ever find yourself in a similar showdown with your association, here is your playbook. Number 1. Demand those written fine schedules immediately. Do not just accept a printed ledger as proof you owe money. You need to ask for the officially promulgated board policy that authorizes that exact fine amount. Number 2, and this is a big one, do not ignore court procedures. Submit your pretrial statements, physically show up to your hearings, do not waive your right to testify. Fisher got the fines thrown out because the HOA dropped the ball on their paperwork, but she was stuck with a court order against her home because she literally didn't show up to defend it.
Section 5. Board and Attorney Lessons. The cost of missing paperwork. If you serve on a board or manage a community, this is your ultimate compliance lesson. The court stated black and white that without competent evidence of a timely promulgated fee schedule, monetary penalties are per se unreasonable. Period. It doesn't matter what your state statutes or your CC&Rs say you can theoretically do. If you can't hand the judge the actual written fee schedule to prove you properly enacted it, your penalties are legally baseless. I remember we passed a rule is not a winning legal strategy.
And for the HOA attorneys out there, there's a pretty glaring litigation lesson here too. The court made it crystal clear that a flat $25 per day fine, just set in advance, acts as an unenforceable penalty. Interestingly, the trial judge had originally tried to fix the HOA's overreach by arbitrarily slashing the fines by 58%, but the appellate court stepped in and said, hold on, slashing an arbitrary fine doesn't magically make it reasonable. Actually, scratch that, it proves the exact opposite. It proves the original fine scheme was never reasonable to begin with. The burden is always on the HOA to prove its actual damages.
Finally, let's look at Section 6, Limits of the Case. What remains unresolved?
You know, during the appeal, Fisher's attorneys tried to argue that the HOA violated her due process rights because they didn't give a mandatory 30-day notice of a penalty. But because the HOA had already fumbled the bag by failing to produce the fine schedule under the best evidence rule, the whole penalty was thrown out anyway. So the court explicitly declined to even touch the due process claim. They completely sidestepped it because that missing document was all it took to end the money dispute.
This case is just such a perfect example of why demanding hard evidence over verbal assumptions is absolutely crucial in community governance. So I want to leave you with this thought to check on in your own neighborhood. Are the fines being levied in your community backed up by actual, verifiable written schedules that could survive a day in court? Or are they just relying on fallible human memory and assumed authority? Honestly, it's a multi-thousand-dollar question. Thanks so much for joining us on this explainer, and remember to always keep asking the right questions.